Welcome back to Bleav in Softball. I'm your host, Jenna, and we are continuing right along with Women's History Month. But even more than that, it was also International Women's Day on Monday, which I love. I mean, it's not possible for one day to encompass all of what it means to be a woman, to empower all women, support each other, recognize our impact, etc. But it is an opportunity to come together, and it's a little bit of positivity too, which is great. But in reality, we're all doing this all the time, every day, and it's what this show is about at the end of the day. So thank you for listening and supporting. And in that spirit, just some reminders for the show and other ways you can support is to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bleav in Softball, that's BLEAV, and subscribe to Bleav in Softball on YouTube too, so you can watch the episodes as well. So let's go through today's order. First, we'll cover our bases, share some news and updates. Then we'll head into today's interview with Taylor Gindlesperger. So she's a Stanford outfielder who's had and is still having, actually, quite the journey. And I got to give love to my alma mater while we're at it. I mean, duh. Then we'll end things with the foul tip of the week, our new segment where we share tips to help us get better in softball and as people. So let's do it. Covering our bases. While it might be March Madness for basketball, there's a little madness in college softball as well right now. Lots of upsets this past weekend. And by the way, a lot of games are being played on Monday as well. Even some midweek games. So keep an eye out for those. You know, softball doesn't stop on Sundays, just FYI. But for the coaches poll, at least at the time, in this past weekend, number 2, Arizona, number 3, Alabama, number 5, Florida, and number 7, Texas, all suffered their first losses of the season. So the Wildcats lost to UCF, Crimson Tide lost to South Alabama, the Gators lost to Florida State, and the Longhorns lost to LSU twice. And to me, this really hits on a couple things. To me, parity means growth. Maybe some of these games are less of an upset and more of a sign that talent is more dispersed throughout the country. That's a good thing. More talent, more opportunity, more competition, that grows the game and only breeds more talent, more opportunity, and more competition. And that's what we want. So I like that part. At the same time, it also shows something that I think we should know already, but that rankings are not the end all be all. Honestly, players aren't thinking about that. They're trying to play and they're trying to win. They're not up to bat thinking, I really want to get a hit right here to move my team up in the rankings. Ultimately, the only rankings that matter are the final ones at the end of the season in Oklahoma City, and they all know it. So we should really think of rankings as guidelines, as a helpful baseline, but not definitive at all. And there are multiple lists of rankings anyway. They don't all match. There are different methods to come up to a final list. There's a lot of complicated factors that go into it. For example, look at UCF. They beat the number 2 team in the country, and they fall from number 22 to number 24 in the NFCA coaches poll. While Arizona, meanwhile, the ones that they beat, stay at number 2. Like on the surface, that doesn't seem right, but it also depends on the other games UCF played. They also lost to Kennesaw State, whereas Arizona lost to UCF themselves, which is a ranked opponent. It also depends on how other teams did. LSU beat Texas not once, but twice, right? And they move up. And some other teams didn't play at all. So it's kind of hard to gauge to change where they might be. But you can easily just continue to go down this rabbit hole, which could be fun for fans, but it's just not a priority for teams. So at the end of the day, the game doesn't know who's supposed to win. You have to show up and execute every game, every inning, every pitch, play like it's your last. And the people that know that better than most are the Olympic softball teams. The pre-Olympic Stand Beside Her tour for Team USA has resumed, and they took the field for the first time since the tour was postponed about a year ago when the COVID-19 pandemic hit hard. And the US is ranked number 1 internationally right now. They're playing a series this week against number 5 ranked Mexico. So the first game, it came out and the US beat Mexico 4-2. But honestly, I think the real wins for both teams were 1, being back on the field playing. Like that's really what it's about. 2, wearing those uniforms, representing their countries on their chests. Like that's such the special X factor that just makes this so much bigger, right? And then 3, doing it together as teammates, like the people that you qualified with and that you're doing this with, they matter, like it's really what takes you over the top. And And they've all waited a really long time for this. And I'm grateful to have had a lot of players on both teams actually on this show, sharing their journeys, their hopes, what they're learning, all of this blood, sweat, and tears like put into what will ultimately maybe be 6 games in one competition at the Olympics. It's crazy, but that's what you do when you love it. But I'm just so happy for them and to see this in motion again. And I recommend actually following some past guests and friends, Danielle Laurie, Victoria Hayward, Kat Osterman, Monica Abbott, Seychelle Palacios, Danielle O'Toole, Tori Vidalis, Erica Piancastelli, and more. So many more have been on the show too, but they are really sharing their journey on social media, and it's pretty powerful. Like, this is not a normal situation. The Olympics are special and next level enough as it is, let alone with what we've been dealing with the past year. So I definitely recommend following their stories and their journeys. But just a couple of reminders too, it's like, I kind of think we've all been a little hesitant to bring up the Olympics too much because we just weren't sure, like, were we going to be able to do it? Last year was so tough, but just reminders, the Olympics are just 4 months or so away. The games start July 23rd and they end on August 8th. There are 6 teams who qualified and will be going. Obviously the US and Mexico, Canada, Italy, Australia, and then of course the host country, Japan. So we're still in the middle of this road to Tokyo, but we're getting there. And someone else who's in the middle of her playing journey is today's guest. So let's head into the interview. She is the current Stanford center fielder, Taylor Gindlesperger. Thank you for joining, Taylor. It's nice to chat with you kind of away from the field for once.
Yeah, this is an interesting new environment, but I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I bet. I mean, it's been an interesting new environment for about a year now, I would say. And it's been about that long since I've seen you and been able to call your games and on the Stanford softball broadcast and all of that. So with all that being said, why don't we just start with, how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm super excited about softball being back. Coach Allister talks about all the time. It's been 348 days since we've played a game or between our games. So it was a long time and I definitely felt that.
Oh man, trust me, everybody watching the games also felt that. But I can't even imagine, being in your situation. It's crazy. But with that, it's, what has life been like for you since last season ended? I mean, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly,
It's been strange, honestly. Selfishly, I kind of remember being very upset about obviously this season ending and the pandemic. I was happy with how I was doing softball wise, and then all of a sudden it was just kind of, the rug was just swept out from underneath my feet. So that was something interesting to deal with. But I feel like after that, me and the rest of my teammates just kind of kept rolling with the punches. We were hoping to go back in fall. That didn't happen. We were hoping to go back at the start of winter quarter, and a few of us were able to, but most of us had to come back a couple weeks in. So it was kind of difficult trying to stay ready for almost a whole year at home in Arizona during a pandemic.
Right. Like, it's not a normal situation. Like,
not at all.
That is very clear. And yeah, you mentioned, so you're from Arizona, so that's where you were. And your teammates were all scattered throughout the country, right? Like back with their families too.
Yeah. We were kind of all over the place. There was a time in fall quarter when some of us were in Colorado together, trying to practice and work out with teammates, so we didn't have to do it alone at our homes, which that was a nice kind of break from home, I guess. It was nice being able to be with the team again and lifting in some sort of team environment. But yeah, for the most part, everyone's spent most of their time all across the country.
That's pretty crazy. I feel like, I mean, you must have been on Zoom a lot with your teammates. Like, how did you guys kind of stay together as a team, and like keep in touch and kind of still feel like you're a team,
Yeah, we had weekly Zooms with the coaches and all the players. So that was one way that we kept in touch. It was hard, honestly, not seeing everyone for so long. I felt like it was such an awesome reunion when we all got back to campus and we could um, stand 10 feet apart and wave at each other. That was pretty nice. But yeah, it was kind of tough. We were all kind of everyone was dealing with their own things, whether it be family, school, whatnot. So um, Zoom was definitely the the main form of communication.
Oh, for sure. And with school, like fast forward to now, like you're in school too. Well, actually, you were in the fall, obviously in the winter too. But what is it like now that you're back? Like you're on campus, but school's obviously different. How is it like for you day to day?
It's strange, honestly. It's awesome to be back. I'm so grateful that I'm able to be on campus because it's just such an awesome environment. Oh my gosh, I missed it so much. But it's still strange not being able to bike to class. That was usually how I would have like a nice break between all the schoolwork going on is that ability to kind of be outside, ride my bike to class, walk around. Now I'm just kind of sitting in a chair for hours on end. So that's definitely different. I miss being able to walk around main quad and whatnot, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like that's the theme, right? Like everything, it is what it is, roll with the punches. Like there's so much we can't control.
Honestly,
But I think I read that you are a huge fan of The Office. Is that right?
I do love The Office. I was very sad when they took it off of Netflix.
I know, like Friends and some other shows have been taken off Netflix too. But so are you able to watch The Office like while you're not studying, while you're not playing softball? Like, what do you watch now that you have so much, well, sort of have downtime in between those things?
Yeah. So I've gotten into New Girl. That's my new jam because that's on Netflix. Um, I try to sneak in a few minutes of that at the end of my day, but here and there when I can.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that show too. Um, did I also see correctly? Were you doing Uber Eats delivery like while you were at home during the pandemic?
Yes, I was.
How did that happen?
Um, well, so when everyone got sent home in spring, um, I think a lot of people's summer plans kind of got discarded. Uh, so I didn't really have anything lined up, and I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity to make some money, do something with my day, something a little bit productive, and hopefully help some people who either can't leave their house or maybe just don't want to.
That's so funny.
It was a nice way to, I don't know, add some sort of structure or leave my house, honestly.
That's true. I guess you can't leave your house very much other than doing something like that, like essential tasks.
Hmm.
Well, that's like quite the turnaround. I mean, you go from, doing Uber Eats delivery in Arizona and now you're back on the field competing with your teammates on campus. Like what a 180 that you kind of dealt with.
Honestly, we made it a long way.
How has it been actually being back competing with your teammates? Obviously, you said like the reunion to see everybody on campus was great, but now that you've had games, like how has that been?
It's awesome. It adds a little bit of normalcy back to this crazy time. It's definitely strange not having fans there, though. I
Yeah,
think the fans they obviously bring a lot of energy to the stadium and it's just fun. Um, but it's still awesome, even though we can't have fans and it's just a couple people up there. But it's definitely great to be back on the field and back with my teammates. and I don't know, putting in work every single day. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like over this last year, so many of us, we've learned a lot, right? Like as a society, you know? But for you and for your team, like what do you feel like is the biggest thing you've learned personally, but also that you've learned as a team?
I personally, I think I learned just how much softball means to me. It was very tough not being able to be around it anymore, and especially missing my teammates. That was very tough being away from them for so long. So um, yeah, I think all of us have kind of grown a new appreciation for just being able to show up on the field and have Stanford across our chests and play softball. We're very lucky to be here, and I think that this pandemic has really showed us that nothing is guaranteed. You know, you have to kind of appreciate the little things, as Coach Allister would say.
I know, and she did say too that she's just really proud of you guys because I mean, this was not easy. To be honest, I've been really impressed with you guys overall, just having good pitching, good defense, good hitting. Like it's hard enough to get all those things to click at once, you know, in a normal situation, let alone after everything that you guys have dealt with. And I think she said that you guys just really want to play softball, like you want to be there together. And I think that's really showing on the field, which is really cool. So it's cool to hear you talk about it too, because I definitely have seen it while you guys have played.
Yeah, it's definitely also a testament to the work that people put in on their own, which is it was awesome to feel comfortable and like confident in my teammates and know that they could do it because they did work hard on their own.
Well, that's a lot of trust that you have to have in each other.
Definitely.
One thing with you in particular too that I've noticed, so having had the privilege to call your games over, this will now be year 3, even though last year was a weird one. um, I've loved your growth as a player. You know, if we go back to the beginning of your career, I remember doing a post-game interview with you actually early in the season last year, and I asked you what the mental change was like from your freshman year in 2019 to your sophomore year at the time. And you were like, oh my gosh, it's huge, right? And I feel like you've taken that over now into this season too. So what was it that kind of flipped the switch for you?
Um, there's a lot of things. There's one distinct moment I remember at the end of my freshman year. Me and a couple other teammates did grad crew where we stay on campus a few extra days, get paid to set up for graduation. And so campus was pretty empty. And I remember being in main quad and just kind of standing there and being like, dang, like I took so much for granted. Like I'm in this awesome place and I was worrying so much over like this specific at bat that I didn't get on. So I think I kind of learned that um it's not always going to be easy. Like you have to grow an appreciation for the things you can control and just having an appreciation, I guess. That was a very long-winded answer. Um, I learned that I definitely need to um, have confidence, and the mental game is huge. Failure will kick you down, and you have to be able to kind of grow a little bit within each at bat, within each like pitch, um, because it's a game of failure. And if you expect to bat 1,000, you're just going to be disappointed. So um, confidence is a huge thing, and just understanding what you need to work on to get better.
I can so relate to everything you're saying. And this is why I wanted to talk to you about this too, because you went from, I mean, you know this, but just for the listeners, you hit 167 your freshman year. Then last year you led the team hitting 402. And that sort of adjustment, it's not like that was like only physical, right? Like that sort of jump like that. It's so much bigger than that. And I was actually similar. I had a similar experience my freshman year. Like I overanalyzed every at bat, like worried about the outcomes before anything even happened, like all kinds of stuff like that. And I hit 169 my freshman year. And when I saw your stats, I was like, oh wow, this like definitely hits home for me. But then, you know, I kind of did the same thing as you, like just started taking one pitch at a time, you know, and kind of soaking it all in instead of, I don't know, living in the future or the past. And then senior year, I hit 331. And it's I can so relate to this journey of like really taking a look at yourself and just mentally and like letting go a little bit. It's like, actually, we need to think less, you know, like let's not think this much.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
But when you're actually up to bat, like, or you're walking up to bat, even making your plan for your at bat, whatever it is, like what actually are you thinking about now? Like, how would you describe your approach at the plate and even just competing overall?
So there are definitely a few things that I think are always important for me to remember, and it's mechanical, to stay on my back leg, to let the ball travel, see it out and whatnot. But I think one of the most important things for me is honestly just to breathe. And usually when I'm on deck, I'll remind myself of how good of a hitter I am. I'll be like, all right, I envision me squaring this ball up. Like, I think I've really worked on having confidence going up to the plate. So I really try not to think too much about all the nitpicky, like technical things as I'm walking up to the plate, and instead just kind of relax. You got this. It's just softball. Like, you know how to swing, well, like just swing hard, and I don't know, let what happens happen.
It's a really good point about what we say to ourselves, because like we've already said, it's so much of it's mental, but we, you know, everyone, we talk to ourselves, like whether we kind of consciously are aware of it or not, like our thoughts do shape what we do. So telling yourself like, I can do this, like you have to believe that you can do something, you know, for it to actually happen. So I love hearing that, like, you're like, yeah, there's a couple mechanical things, but really like this is what actually helps me, you know?
Yeah. I find that if I think too much about the technical things, I end up kind of getting too tense and a little too worked up. And that's just not very productive for me.
Totally. I don't know if it's productive for anybody. But it's good that you've kind of like figured that out, you know, because that takes time, like to figure yourself out as a hitter. Like you only have 4 years in college. Some people continue to play, you know, in pro afterwards and stuff, but you're young. Like there's still lots of stuff that you're learning. So it's good that you've learned it early.
Yeah. Very thankful. Very thankful for that freshman year. Taught me a lot.
Absolutely. And in that freshman year, like let's talk about the program, right? Like that was the first time Stanford softball went to postseason in 6 years. So it was really this like turnaround year for Stanford softball overall. And as an alum, like I have to tell you, I was like, yes, like I am so excited about this, you know, especially calling your games too, but even just as a fan and somebody who's invested in the program. What was the atmosphere among the team like and the coaching staff when you came in?
So when we were freshmen, we didn't know what to expect. We were just, I don't know, yay, like this is awesome. So when we did make it to postseason, it was really cool, but I don't think we understood just how amazing it was. And so we could really kind of feed off of the excitement and energy from the upperclassmen, to like truly understand how awesome it was that we had made it. And starting in the beginning of this season, I think there was this common atmosphere of grit, I guess. I think that's the word I'd use, just plain grittiness. Like we wanted it, like we wanted to be everyone. No matter what would happen, we would kind of try to play scrappy and make our way out of whatever situation. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, grit, I know for a fact, is one of Coach Al's like go-to words. Like it's just like a Coach Alism. So I don't know if I've ever told you this, but she was actually my coach my freshman year and recruited me to Stanford. So I know her pretty well. And I can like, as you were saying that, I was like, I can hear the words coming from her.
That's so funny.
Oh man, I love that that's like lasted over time too. But
Always.
always. What are some other like Coach Al isms and things that she always tells you guys?
One of the main ones that stuck with me is the importance of having a positive highlight reel. So remembering the good at bats, the good pitches, rather than, oh, last at bat I grounded out to third. Instead, kind of reframing it like I swung at good pitches, I swung hard, like remembering the positive things and not beating yourself up about it. She would always say this in like huddles and whatnot, reminding us to have a positive highlight reel and kind of give me a little look like, Taylor.
I really like that. I don't remember that one from before. Maybe, I mean, it's been a while, so she probably come up with new material, but that's a great one, even just for life. Like if you're about to go take a test, like let's not worry about the last test was so hard. Like let's just remember when you did well on a test or whatever it is, like in anything in life. I like that. I think I'm going to start using that.
It's great. I mean, like you said earlier, the mental side is so huge. It's really important to remember yourself as a good player, because if you think of yourself as a bad player, like that's really not going to do anything for you.
100%. 100%. And I feel like in general too, you guys have like a little different vibe, like maybe a little more swag, like than maybe a few years ago too. Like even your playlist at the games, like in the stadium, you guys have like Lizzo playing and like all this like hip music. We had like Sweet Caroline, you know, which is like fine, but not exactly Lizzo. You know what I mean? Who does the playlist? I need to know.
So I have to give a lot of credit to Emily Young and Kate Cressy. I think they contributed quite a bit. We all had the option to throw some songs in there on the Excel spreadsheet, but I think they added a lot of those.
I love it. And you guys, speaking of music, you also have walk-up songs, which we did not have. We all used to like talk about what ours would be, but we didn't have them in my day. Now you guys do. How do you guys go about picking those? Like, how did you come and land on yours?
So here's the thing. It's all about the vibe. It's just got to match your vibe. So some people go for the really hype ones. Me personally, I needed something that like I enjoyed listening to, that would like kind of, it would get me hype, but not too crazy, because we all know that I need to kind of relax before I get up to bat. So mine's a little bit more chill. I just searched through some playlists that I had made of like songs that I liked, and I came across that one and I was like, that's the vibe. I'm choosing that one.
Wait, remind me which one is yours?
It's La La Land, the arcade remix.
Nice.
I received a little bit of hate because it's about California and I'm from Arizona, but it's okay. I've claimed California now.
I was gonna say you're here what, like, well, normally in a non-COVID situation, months out of 12 in a year.
Yeah,
It's fine.
definitely.
And you're an upperclassman, so it's not like you're a freshman like coming in. Like,
Yeah, no, I've been here.
yeah, yeah. You're a junior now. You can do what you want. One thing I have to ask you too is kind of speaking of the PA system, like it's not just music, right? They also announce the lineups and the names of everybody on the teams. Now, I'm somebody whose last name people usually don't pronounce correctly, and they always kind of like double take it. I have to ask you, is that something that you've had to deal with too?
Definitely. Our first tournament freshman year, it was the Kajikawa ASU, and they called me Grindleperger. Like, I don't even know what the last few syllables were, but it was Grindlepierre or something like that. So from then on, Coach Merchant now just calls me Grindle. But yeah, everyone always kind of does this awkward pause. They'll be like, number 25, Taylor Gindlesperger. It really just fades out, but that's okay. I've gotten used to it.
But the thing is like your name is phonetic, you know? Like
Yeah.
there's like a few extra, you know, there's a few extra syllables maybe like compared to some people, but it's phonetic. Like I didn't have an issue with it when I first started calling your games, like your freshman year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it just intimidates people, I guess. It's a little too long, but it is phonetic. Like it's said exactly how it should be. It's not like it has a silent G somewhere, but I don't know. It's scary, I guess.
They just see letters and they're like, oh no.
Exactly.
Mine is not really phonetic, like Becerra. I've been called some weird stuff too, though. Like I remember, I think this was like way back in like rec ball tryouts. So I was a little kid, but I remember somebody being like, Jenna Bakeroo.
What?
Like, okay, we didn't even try. You know, there was no effort put into that.
Sometimes I wonder if it's the coach's handwriting, but
That's a good point. But to be honest, like in the press box, we get like printed out rosters and stuff too. So it's not always
oh,
an excuse. Yeah. I just
never
threw
mind.
under the bus, but oh well.
Not trying to blame Coach Allister's handwriting or anything, but
Yeah. I know it's all her fault. Have you seen the movie The Rookie, baseball movie before?
I think I've seen parts of it. I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, it's this like maybe listeners will know, but it's this like young kid who like breaks his arm and like magically throws really hard. So he ends up being like a pitcher in Major League Baseball. But I think his last name is like Rowan Gardner or something. And it's like a joke throughout the whole movie that the coach says something different every time. Like it's never correct. He'll be like Rowan Splatter or whatever, like every time. And when I first saw your name, I did kind of think of that just because like I can kind of relate to you. So
It's a hard life.
man, right? Champagne problems.
Truly.
But you're not the only one who's probably dealt with that. Your brother played college baseball, right?
He did.
Did he kind of have, is he a big reason why you started playing softball? Like, did he have a big influence on you?
He did. I he's 13. No. Whoa. He's 11 years older than me. I forgot how to count for a second. So he's 11 years older, and I kind of wish that I had maybe paid attention a little more, or like maybe was a little, maybe the age gap was a little closer together, if that makes sense. Because when he was playing baseball, I was too young to sort of care. But looking back on it now, I would have really enjoyed like going to the games and actually being able to pay attention and watch. But I have a lot of videos on our old video camera thingy of me and him playing catch together, and I'm like 6 or something. So I definitely think that he is the reason why I got involved in softball, and his support throughout has also been huge. Like after bad games or after good games, I'll always get a text from him like, hey, like great job, or like, oh, that was tough, but I'm always here if you want to give me a call. And I usually end up talking to him for quite a bit afterwards.
That's awesome. I have a brother that's 10 years older than me too. He never was like super into baseball. He likes it, but he was more of a basketball guy. But the big brother thing with like them being protective and supportive and all that stuff is like definitely really, really cool. And the fact that you guys actually share like baseball and softball is even cooler.
I used to feel like I got bullied quite a bit when I was younger, so now I'm glad that we're pretty close friends.
Well, to be fair, that is another aspect to the sibling relationship. So I don't think that's like outside the norm.
Absolutely.
But then your parents must be like, are they obviously like a baseball player son and now like a softball player daughter? Do they just like, are they all about it? Like they just love going to games?
Yeah. So my two older brothers are actually my half brothers. But yeah, my parents absolutely love baseball and softball. During the pandemic and that 10-month hiatus, they didn't know what to do with themselves. I was convinced they were about to go watch some like, I don't know, club games somewhere just because they missed watching sports so badly. Yeah, it's definitely been a huge part of our family.
That's so cool. You and I have more in common than I even realized. So my older brother, I mentioned, also my half brother. And it makes sense because the age gap, right? Like, so this actually makes a lot of sense. But it's funny because we have the same dad, different moms. And so I call him my brother from another mother. So are your brothers on your mom's side or dad's side?
My mom's.
Okay. So not quite the same.
Yeah, but pretty darn close.
Brothers with the same mother, maybe? I don't know.
That works.
That's also like kind of a unique relationship too. Like it's cool because you have some shared experiences, but also some on your own. And it's blended families are, that's like life today. And I don't know about you, but I became an aunt when I was like 17 because of the age difference. So I have a niece and I have a nephew who's now 6 also. But are you a young aunt too by chance?
No, unfortunately, I am not an aunt yet.
Well, I will say whenever
Someday.
the day comes, it's the best. Like I can just tell you now, you have like all the advantages, like all the love, all the fun and the playing and everything, but you have no responsibility. Really. And like grandparents are kind of like that too, but like grandparents kind of paid their dues. You know what I mean? Like they had their kids, they raised them already. And so it's like, we don't do any of that. It just falls right in our lap. It's awesome.
So are you the fun aunt? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I like to think. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the youngest aunt too. So I just like when my niece, nephew, and brother and sister-in-law came to visit, like my niece wanted to stay with me. And I was like, yeah, that's right.
That's right.
But she's going to be 14 this year, which is wild. It makes me feel really old, but so I'm like on the cusp of like, I might not be cool for very much longer, we'll see.
That's awesome.
So that's what you have to look forward to. Well, other than maybe like your brother and some of the family dynamics and everything, what else about softball really drew you in? that made you say like, yes, this is for me, this is my sport?
Well, I'm not sure. I remember thinking that it was the funnest sport because there's so many aspects to it. It has a lot of range, I guess. There's hitting, fielding, pitching, and within each of those, there's a lot of different skill sets. So I think that's what I really liked about it. It was so interesting, and it wasn't like you were ever doing the same thing over and over, running back and forth, which I think I also probably just didn't enjoy the running part of that. But yeah, I loved all the different aspects of softball, and it's always kind of different, and there's always new situations.
Well, and you're fast too, but you don't like running like constantly.
No, yeah, that's my thing. I can do short sprints for a little bit. I enjoy those, like little spurts of action, but yeah, I don't think I would have been cut out for the long distance stuff.
You're like, I can do 60 feet at a time and we're good.
Yeah, like if you want me to sprint from like one end of the soccer field to the other, like one time, I'll do that. But I don't know about running back and forth.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And you're right, softball does have so many different aspects. Like if you think about it, like football, for example, which like, is more of a men's sport, although there are some women now playing, which is cool. But it's like you either play offense or defense usually. And with softball, it's like I never really thought about it, but it's like, no, we all do that. Like we all play both, unless some pitchers don't or whatever. But there's it's definitely like a skilled sport. It's not something where you can just like, oh, let's just do a pickup fast pitch game, like at the local park.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it, and definitely why the mental part of it is so tough. You have so many different areas to succeed or fail in.
Oh yeah. But like I said, so far you guys are doing well in kind of like all of those areas, or you feel it seems like you all have a rhythm, like I said, in the circle, at the plate, like on defense, which is great and really hard to do when it's been so long. But when you look forward to kind of the rest of the season, what are you hoping to get out of it as a team, whether those are wins or just some intangible stuff?
Well, the goal is to make it to Oklahoma City. I think we have a lot of very good players and a lot of depth, which is awesome. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all plays out. I think the goal is to win. I think it's awesome to be back with each other, and we love being back, obviously, but winning is the main goal, and I think we can with the players that we have.
Depth is right too. I mean, and that's one thing about this season too, having the eligibility stuff kind of change because of last year. So you have like your super seniors, like your
grandmas.
Yeah, I'm sure they love being called that. But even like I can't tell you the last time I saw somebody transfer to Stanford. That is so rare. So even having like Eleni Sparakis like join your team after being at Santa Clara for undergrad is like not the norm, So, but I guess there's two parts to this question. It's like, how is it having those seniors back with their leadership? But also like, yes, having the depth, how has that changed the team dynamic?
Yeah, it's awesome having the seniors back. I think obviously it was really sad when they sort of got cheated out of a season last year. So I'm very glad that they were able to come back, and our team is a lot better because of it. They're all very good leaders on the field and off the field. and awesome people to go to if you ever need advice. So I think they just contribute a lot to the team dynamic and the team atmosphere. So it's, like I said, it's awesome that they're back, and the depth is a great thing. And Coach Allister says this a lot, is depth is awesome, but we have to let it be great. We have to want what's best for the team, and like be ready in situations where you'll be needed, because, and she says this also, it's going to take everybody. There are going to be times when we need a pinch hitter, pinch runner, and I think everyone is kind of fighting for those spots, and we all want to contribute to the team in the best way for the team. So it's always kind of tough with softball, having half of the team on the field and half off. But I think our team dynamic is very strong, and we're all very supportive, which I'm very grateful for. And hopefully we kind of keep passing that down to the freshmen and the incoming freshmen next year, that we're, like the theme of the pandemic, we're stronger together. So kind of having that attitude and supporting one another.
Totally. Like that part's so mental too. Like you're competing on the field against your opponent together, but there's a little bit of competition to, you know, fill a spot on the team. But you're right. At the end of the day, it's like you all have the same goal. You all want to go to Oklahoma City. You all want to win. Like you all want to do it together. So that's a great mentality to have.
Yeah.
Well, I want to wrap up with a little game that I play with everybody that comes on the show. It's called Safe or Out. And it's really straightforward. It's like I'll bring something up, a topic, and if you like it or agree with it, then you'll say safe. If you don't like it, you don't agree with it, then you'll call it out. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, so now we'll start. I heard from your teammates about the meat lovers scramble in the dining hall. Safe or out?
Personally, out.
Really? Why?
I'm long story. I can't eat eggs.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise safe.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Well, I can eat eggs, but I actually don't really like eggs anymore.
What?
Your taste buds change.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I was chatting with your teammates, Elena Votter, earlier, and she was like all about it. Like, yeah, I'm not much of a meat eater, but whatever. And I think Emily Young said she liked it too. So I was like, I gotta ask Taylor this.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a fan favorite.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one is wearing the protective shields on your throwing arm as a lefty hitter. Safe or out?
Oh, safe. Safe for sure.
Yeah. Have you always done that?
Yes, and it's gotten to the point where if I don't have it, I don't know, I can't go to bat without it.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm missing part of my arm, you know?
Well, it's like your routine. Yeah. Like everybody has, you know, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Last one is superstitions. Safe or out?
Safe.
Okay. What are some of yours?
So I usually have my hair braided. There always has to be some sort of braid. There always has to be a ribbon. I also have this little gnome. It's a wooden gnome found in the Arc, which is like our tutoring center, my freshman year, and it's just been with me since then. So no, his name's Nomi. Nomi has to be around. And sorry, there's a large list apparently. and between each pitch in the outfield, I have to kind of pace around. So I'll turn around, walk back, and then kind of make a little circle and come back to where I was. And I usually have some sort of pattern based on like right behind, like turn right around, or I'll start walking to the side, if that makes any sense at all.
No, I get it. You like follow a certain like route every time.
Yeah. So if the pitch is just getting everyone out, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But
yeah. That's good.
Otherwise I might need to switch it up.
No, that's solid. I used to have some superstitions too. Like I had to wear a red headband, and even before Stanford, like I just happened to only have a red headband one day, and then I played really well. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm wearing. My school colors were blue and orange, by the way, but I just did it. And then it worked at Stanford. Obviously it matched. So I was like, cool, we're good.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I know. I also heard, so Tatum told me that she only ties her shoes once at the beginning of the season and like won't untie them ever again, like her cleats and her turf. Were you aware of this?
So I was not. Oh my goodness. The heel of my shoe would be destroyed if I ever did that.
She said it.
Props to Tatum.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's commitment. But I don't know. Everyone always has their
dedication for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Taylor. This was fun. I mean, I love, as an alum, getting to know you guys. I mean, I call your games, but getting to chat with you guys off the field more and like get to know more about you as people and your story and all of that is really cool. So thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll see you this weekend for more games.
Can't wait.
It's nice getting to hear from Taylor about her experience playing at Stanford. In some ways it's like I played at the same program, on the same field, even with the same coach for a little bit. So some things about the game are really always the same. But in other ways, the game does evolve over time too. And we talk about how it's a game of adjustments. The game itself does that too. And especially with everything that's happened over the last year with COVID-19 and everything else, it's so good to hear her perspective on it and see what players are dealing with now. So with that, let's transition to the foul tip of the week. This week's foul tip is about this. Consistency is key. My first job out of college was at LinkedIn, which, by the way, athletes highly recommend that you make a LinkedIn profile, especially if you're in college. It's just a great way to build your professional brand that's going to take you, from your playing career and beyond. So first thing, definitely recommend doing that. Ask me for pointers if you need them. But what they did as a company internally really well is they did a great job of defining things. So, they didn't just like ingrain our company values in us, just this list, right, as new hires. They actually explained to us, like, what are values? Like, let's define what values are and why they're important. So to this day, I could still list them all off to you. There's 6. Members first, relationships matter, be open, honest, and constructive, take intelligent risks, demand excellence, and act like an owner. And I think those, honestly, I use them to this day. And I think they apply to sports too. But the reason that I think I'm still able to remember those so easily is because of that shared, consistent definition of values that we use throughout the company. We all agreed that values were who we are and who we aspire to be. So not only were the actual values themselves consistent, but so is the definition and the importance behind them. And we're talking like, over 10,000 people globally at this company in 25 plus offices around the world, right? Like when I say consistency, it's really huge. And one of my favorite definitions that we had was actually about trust. And you can look up the word trust in the dictionary and it'll mention something about like reliability. And that's definitely true. But how does one actually become reliable? And at LinkedIn, we said that trust equals consistency over time. And I love that because it really shows that consistency is key. It's what coaches look for from a player, what players look for from coaches in terms of support and teaching. It's what teammates look for from each other. And it's what you even seek when you're choosing a college program to play for. You know, there's so many ways that we need that. We all want trust, and its foundation is consistency. But I'm not just talking about the outcomes. You know, the batting average, for example, definitely a helpful measure, but it doesn't tell the entire story. You can hit a line drive right at somebody and it's an out in the scorebook, or you can get totally jammed and frankly beat by the pitcher, barely bloop a base hit into the outfield, and it all evens out, right? Like that's why we call it a batting average. The key is really consistency in your approach. We've talked about this before. You can't control what pitches are thrown to you or where the defense is playing, but you can control your approach on every single pitch. If you're consistent in hitting the ball hard in play, even if you go 0 for 3, you and your coach know that you're on that ball and that the good stuff is coming. It gets on the way. For example, I remember senior year, we played the Oregon State series at home during Pac-12 conference play. And I actually hit grand slams in back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. And it was the same pitcher, same pitch even. It was a screwball to me, a righty. And I hit it to the same spot over the left field wall. And, you know, my coaches and teammates are going nuts, like back-to-back grand slams. Like that seems like consistency, doesn't it? But in some ways, I was actually even more proud of my next at-bat after that. You know, after home runs, sometimes it's easy for us to swing out of our shoes a little bit, maybe overdo it. We get a little too excited. And in my next at bat, you know, it was a different pitcher by then. She threw me a curveball on the outer half this time, which probably smart at that point, mix it up a little. And I hit a line shot, like deep to right field, but it was caught. They were playing deep. I was out. But I felt pretty good about it because I was consistent in my approach. I didn't overswing. I stayed calm. I still had my timing. I made the adjustment to the location. I hit the ball hard in play. And I actually distinctly remember my coaches telling me after that at bat, like, hey, great job, JB, like, atta girl. And it might seem kind of weird because I got out, you know, but it was the consistency I was able to bring that I could build on. And that's really, really a mental thing. And to this day, I see actually Stanford's now head coach, Jessica Allister, clapping and like nodding her head when players hit the ball hard, even if they get out. And it's for that reason. Again, it's not just the outcome, it's the approach. That's what's promising. That's what builds trust. I mean, it's the same thing in life. If we see time and time again that a friend of ours tries to do the right thing, is there for us, that makes them reliable and helps build trust. So that's it. Consistency is key. That's the foul tip of the week. You've been listening to Bleav in Softball, available anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you listen, including Bleav.com. Subscribe and watch the video version on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button on all the platforms, actually, while you're at it. Rate the show, write a review, share it with your friends. Of course, again, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Bleav in Softball. Again, BLEAV. As always, you can hit me up on Twitter at JennaBecerra01 and Instagram at JennaBecerra as well. Thanks for being with us today and catch you soon.